Howdy, and welcome to Book Your Give Here. We're Travel That Gives. I'm Lulu Lima, your chief travel guru. I hope this episode of Dream Now Travel Later inspires you to travel, and I invite you to give us the opportunity to help plan your next memorable trip. So grab your popcorn and enjoy.
Today, one of my favorite people, Ryan Connolly. He is with Hidden Iceland, and he's going to share with us all of his country's treasures. This is something that he has put together. I met him on the Family Travel Association back a couple of years ago when I was in Bermuda, and really love the way that he does things off the beaten path. And so since everything that I do for you guys is completely curated, Ryan really focuses on that curation. And that's one of the reasons why he's here today. So with that, I am going to give him the floor, and away we go. Welcome, Ryan.
Hello. Hi. Thank you very much, Lulu, for introducing me. And I appreciate that we're doing this from very, very far away from each other because I guess everyone is in quarantine. So instead of me doing my chat from the top of a glacier or walking on a volcano or in a hot pool, I'm doing it from my bedroom. So I'm sorry that we can't do it in a more remote location like I would like to, but I guess that's how it's going at the moment. But yeah, so I'm one of the owners, one of the founders of Hidden Iceland, and the company that we run is very small, but it's very personalized and focused on the customer experience. So when people do come to Iceland, they have all these tick box places that they want to go, and we'll say, yes, okay, let's create an itinerary where we'll go and see these places like the glacier lagoon, but let's add in a few hidden spots as well. So my job is basically to show families, individuals, adventurers, more off the beaten paths of Iceland. And that's kind of what Hidden Iceland specializes in. I mean, we do glacier hikes, volcanic walks. We go all around the entire island if you're coming in the summer, and if you're coming in winter, then maybe you've heard of the Northern Lights and ice caves.
Yeah,
You definitely know.
That's awesome.
These are the kind of things that we specialize in. So rather than me trying to explain what an ice cave looks like or what a winter wonderland is like in Iceland, perhaps we should start by showing the video first.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the video right now. And here we go. Certainly makes me want to go, all right, even though I'm not that much of a cold person, I really want to go and obviously explore quite a bit. So we have a little presentation that we're going to show you guys, and we're going to kind of talk about it just kind of the same format that we've done with some others. There are pictures there to inspire you, and obviously all of the moving pieces for us to just share with you. So with that, I am putting on the presentation. Yay. And so just so that you guys know, again, it's the two of us. It's Hidden Iceland, as well as your favorite travel guru, Lulu Lima, putting it all together for you. So Ryan, oops, I went too fast. Talk to me a little bit about the location of, and all the different things that you can do in Iceland. And obviously when you go into Reykjavik, how everybody's like, oh, I want to do that because that's the tourist section. But really what we really want to explore is more different parts of the island.
Yeah, excellent. So thank you for putting up the map, because Iceland is one of those countries that has maybe not a bad rap, but certainly a misconception. With a name like Iceland, and then you just watch the video of snow and darkness, you think this must be freezing, it must be for only the adventurers who are going to go to this place. But the reality is that Iceland is a tiny little island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean that enjoys unseasonably warm weather. So the Gulf Stream that comes up from the Gulf of Mexico spins around Iceland all year round, and means that in the middle of winter, when somewhere like New York might be getting 10, 20 degrees Fahrenheit, Iceland will be getting 35 and 40. So snow in winter is going to happen, but it's not necessarily going to be as cold as you think. And the other thing to consider is that the nickname that we give to Iceland is the land of fire and ice. So the ice part is very understanding. It's all about the glaciers and how cold it is. But the fire part refers to the 132 named volcanoes. So you get lots of hot springs, you get lots of warm areas, and you get lots of mountainous and rocky paths, which stop the bad weather from getting in sometimes. So the actual country itself is almost like warm and cold at the same time. It's a really strange one to talk about, because when people come to Iceland, yeah, they'll have these conceptions that they're going to go to the Blue Lagoon, they'll go to Reykjavik, and they'll maybe spend some time along the south coast. But the entire country is active. It has active volcanoes, moving glaciers. So wherever you go, from the West Fjords in the northwest to the Vatnajökull National Park, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site in the southeast, you've got so much to see and do. So when people say, I want to go off the beaten path with Hidden Iceland, it's a pretty easy answer, because as long as you can spend more than one day outside of Reykjavik traveling, then you're already off the beaten path. And I dare say that with the reduction in tourists that we're expecting next year and the year after, avoiding the crowds is not going to be a problem.
So yes, social distancing is really a big deal. So this is great that we're able to offer your destination with that option.
Yeah. And actually, Hidden Iceland, if you join a small group tour, it would be a maximum of 12 people in a big spacious vehicle. But I think we're going to see a lot more families and a lot more people wanting to do private trips. And at that point, we can say, yes, we'll go as far away from the imagined crowds, or in fact, no crowds at this point, to any long hikes or walks. We'll be able to get away from the crowds. So that's the maps.
That's awesome. So we want to entice you guys a little bit with a picture of Northern Lights. Obviously, it's all based on weather, but since you are close to the Arctic Circle, the chances of you being able to see it in November through January is quite high, I would say. Again, depending on weather. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, then we'll be looking at somewhere like end of March, April, May.
So a little bit slightly off, but close.
Okay.
So the earliest that you can see the Northern Lights in Iceland is probably the last couple of days in August. However, maybe the second week of September is better, really, because what you're looking for with the Northern Lights isn't a certain time of year. It's literally just darkness. So the second the sun disappears and the stars come out, there is a chance that the sun is going to send that magical stuff, these electrically charged particles, towards the atmosphere, which will affect the oxygen and nitrogen particles and create this light show. I mean, on any given night, you might see what you're seeing in that picture there, purples and yellows and greens, and then other nights you might only see stars. So it's weather dependent, but it's also if the sun is happy to send the things as well. So people say, is it better to come in November or January or March? And the short version is literally as soon as it gets dark, there is a chance. The best I've ever seen was at the end of August, but I've seen incredible ones in January as well, and as late as maybe the first week of April. There's Northern Lights. And if we're talking about social distancing, we call it hunting for the Northern Lights in Iceland, and that is because we literally have to get as far away from any unnatural light as we can. So away from the cities, away from the towns, away from the villages, even getting away from the hotel for a little while, driving off into the distance and looking for clear sky, and spending as long as we're willing to until our feet go numb. And Sometimes that requires more than a few days before you get the right chance, but if you stay long, you will see the Northern Lights.
That's awesome. And we recommend at least a minimum of 6 nights, so that you can actually get a really great off the beaten path experience, and also have a chance to see the Northern Lights. So so when we're planning our itineraries together, we really want to focus on, maybe a minimum of 6-7 nights. The flights are not that far from the East Coast. It's just a few hours. So certainly, we can do that. And, here in the daytime, here are some great pictures where you can see a lot of the different experiences that you would have with Ryan and his team. So here's an example of something that you would do, in 2 or 3 days, right?
Yeah. So the thing I mentioned at the start, we've got fire and we've got ice, and the fire or the volcanoes happen to play a really big part in some of the tours that we run, because the volcanic heat that's deep under the ground is warm enough to heat water, and that water creates hot pools. So you've heard of the Blue Lagoon, maybe, which is the most popular touristy version. You also have things like the Secret Lagoon and other hot pools all around the country. But sometimes that water gets so hot that it boils it and makes it explode. So you have erupting geysers. And again, the one in the Golden Circle that maybe some of you have heard of is just one of a few. So we would take you to those kind of places as well. But the thing that maybe a lot of you probably haven't really heard of before is that they use the heat of the volcanoes to heat things like greenhouses. And within those greenhouses, you can grow tomatoes, you can grow peppers, they even grow bananas. And as of 2017, they successfully managed to grow coffee beans and cocoa beans. So we're not too far away from having Icelandic hot chocolates and coffee. So as we travel around the country,
I can't wait to taste that.
Yeah. And the amazing thing is, because they don't rely on the sun to grow anything when it comes to that sort of stuff, you can experience this in the middle of winter as well as the summer. So having an amazing summery bee-filled experience can be done in the middle of winter. It's quite incredible. And if you've never tried the tomato soup at the Friðhammer tomato farm and then petted the wild, the untamed Icelandic horses, you definitely need to come and at least try that for the day.
Awesome. And do you guys get a lot of seafood, because you are a country that is, island, and you have so many coasts?
Yeah. So the biggest type of seafood that you get in Iceland are things like lobster, mussels, this hybrid fish called the Arctic char. I think if you're from Canada, you've probably heard of this. It's a mix between salmon and trout, and it's genuinely the best fish I've ever had in my entire life. And each local, whether it's a restaurant or a hotel or a farm, they don't really believe in let's import food from elsewhere. They say, okay, we're going to give you a local experience, and yes, it's because it's an amazing experience, but it's also one of necessity as well. So every time you go to a new hotel as you travel, whether it's 2, 3, 4, or 5 star, they're going to be giving you food from around the corner, if not from their own personal plot, which is always nice.
Yeah, so that farm to table, sea to table concept is great. It's the island is really great for wellness. As Ryan mentioned, there are a lot of hot spots as well. So these hot streams are great for us to be able to dip in and really rejuvenate our circulatory system. So, and especially since we've been home for so long, this is just a great inspiration of how we can get well and be happy in the winter. So the country has a lot of different wildlife. I grabbed just 3 pictures. Obviously the puffin, your fox, and your sheep are the ones that I have here, but I did see quite other options. Do you want to talk a little bit about how great the wildlife is and where you can find it?
Yeah. Well, the wildlife is quite a difficult one to plan a tour around. The only thing that you're absolutely 100% guaranteed to see in the winter is the Icelandic horse, because any other animal that is reared on a farm, like the Icelandic sheep or cows or pigs, they're kept indoors just because it's a bit too snowy for them. But the actual wildlife, like the reindeer and the Arctic foxes and the puffins, these are the kind of animals that you would go on hikes to see. So with the Atlantic puffin, you would maybe hike to the top of a cliffside and peer down towards the sea, and you would see them flying around. Or with the Arctic fox, you may have to take a little boat ride onto an island just to catch a glimpse of them running around. The reindeer, they're only in the southeast of the island. So again, if we're talking off the beaten path, you have to travel for about a day and a half to get to their breeding ground. And you have to get there in the winter to see the reindeer as opposed to the summer, because believe it or not, Iceland is too hot for these reindeer that were brought over in the 1700s. So in the summertime, the reindeer run off into the mountains to stay cool. So summer reindeer sounds like the opposite. Winter reindeer is the only time you're going to see them down at sea level.
That's well, you know, reindeer's all about Santa Claus, so that's the whole point of winter, right? So,
absolutely, yeah.
And then of course, I want to give a shout out to the puffins, because a colleague of mine who is very dear about the puffins goes to the Westman Islands. Excuse me. Yep. Sure. And I know that there is some type of refuge there for them, or sanctuary.
Yeah, that's right. And so it's called the Sea Life Trust now. It used to be just called an aquarium. And I would say you can only really go to the Westman Islands in the summer. And the trip that we run there, effectively you go onto this volcanic island that erupted in 1973. And you have two choices to see the puffins. You can either go along the cliff edges and watch them in their natural habitat, or if you're not lucky that day and they're out at sea or the weather's not great, you can go to a rescue center where any baby puffin or puffling, believe it or not, that's what they're called, that gets stuck on the island before they fly off into the Atlantic to spend the rest of the year. If they get stuck in the island, then this rescue center takes them in, rehabilitates them, and then releases them into the wild. And as of next summer, well, technically this summer, but let's say next summer, they've brought in 2 beluga whales as well. So these rescue whales that were brought from another place, I think it was Canada, these whales that were very sick and have been brought to be effectively released into the wild, but around a large enclosure that utilizes the seawater and the actual coast itself. So you can see whales and puffins and walk on an active volcano on that one particular island. So I can see why your colleague is a big fan of that particular.
Absolutely. And guys, you know, this is a great learning opportunity as well for your kids, especially with homeschooling and everything else. Here's an opportunity for them to really learn about the animal life and the experience of how things are, well taken care of, even from one country to another. So, certainly great opportunities here. We talked about some of the experiences that we can have here on the island, and hiking a glacier is certainly one of them. Ryan's passion has been to, take you guys all around his island and kind of show you a lot of these moving pieces. So is there any special gear or anything like that my clients or followers should bring with them, or do you guys help provide some of that?
Yeah, I mean, you can actually see quite well from that picture that the person walking on the glacier has spikes on their feet, those orange things on the shoes. We provide those. We also provide harnesses, which we tend to not use unless we take out some ropes if we're going to do something a bit more technical. But generally speaking, when we do glacier hikes, we want them to be for first timers, very easy. As long as you have full mobility, then you should be able to experience the glacier. But the one thing I love most about glaciers, and why I prefer to be a glacier guide rather than a mountain guide, is because that picture that you're looking at, it doesn't look like that now. The glaciers are moving towards us in this picture by about 1 to 2 feet every couple of days, and it's melting down by a few centimeters or a few inches, every day as well. So every time you step onto the ice for the first time, you are literally stepping onto a place that maybe no one has stepped on before. So each new crack, each new hole, each new ice sculpture that we experience will be new to me as well as to you guys. So to say that you're getting a unique experience is absolutely 100% certain when you're walking on a glacier that is moving.
Yeah. Now, for those of us who might be a little timid about something that's moving, do you feel it move?
No, not at all. This movement, it's when you got to try and think about the scale as well, because the glaciers cover about 10% of about 10-11% of the entire country of Iceland. So when something that big is moving, even if it is moving at say 1 foot per day, you're not going to feel it unless there is like a shift. And that shift I've only felt once in the last say 4 or 5 years. So the chances of you feeling something move is small, but very cool when it does, but very small. What you're really doing is you're watching from day to day, like cracks and holes opening up. They don't open up visually, but they do change throughout the day, which is helped by melting as well. But certainly when we do glacier hikes, we assume that nobody who's on the hike has ever stepped foot on ice before. So we don't make it difficult, we don't make it too challenging unless that's requested. All we want to do is let you experience these moving, amazing giant beasts while you still can, because whether you believe in climate change in the same way that I do, what I can say for certain is that these glaciers are melting away and very quickly. So over the next few years, may be the last time that you'll be able to walk on the glacier easily like we do today.
Awesome information. So, and here's a little picture of more of what you can see in terms of in the caves and on the glaciers.
Yeah, that's right. So that's a really close-up picture of an ice cave. I think if you skip to the next picture, you'll see them from a little bit further away. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
So from November onwards, and it's very important that it's from November, you can walk on top of a glacier like you saw in the previous two pictures all year round. But from November onwards, the glacier gets cold enough, i.e. the temperature gets cold enough, that any of the shapes and the features that are created as the glacier moves basically freeze in time and stop moving for a little while. From November to March is roughly correct. So that means that when everything stops moving, it becomes safe. And safe means you can go inside a glacier, underneath the ice, and walk into an ice cave. So those three pictures that you're seeing there, those are three examples of three different ice caves that we've taken people into. Now, as you just noticed, I said
that's awesome.
Yeah, but just one thing to finish on that part. The melting in the summer will make all of these ice caves collapse or break or disappear. So whenever you go into a new ice cave in the winter, we have to discover it completely brand new. So the ice cave that we went into last winter is already gone. I can promise you that. So the ice cave that you go into next winter or the winter after that will be new to us as it is to you. So again, a unique off the beaten path experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what's the temperature like inside the ice caves?
Bizarrely, it's actually quite warm. In fact, if it's windy outside, it's sometimes the warmest place you can be. So the average temperature of a temperate glacier in Iceland is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. It's right on freezing point. So when you go inside this ice cave, you're not going to feel any colder than you were when you were outside. And if it's really bad weather on the outside, you might actually warm up. So usually where we stop and have lunch, have some snacks and warmer feet. It's quite bizarre.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's a great experience. And so here I put a picture of one of the hot springs that you can have access to when we build your custom itineraries with Hidden Iceland. So I just wanted to give you guys an opportunity to see that a lot of these are off the beaten path, with the exception of the one in like the Blue Lagoon, where it's the most popular. And that one will really will give you not the access of social distancing that we like today, but during your trip, we certainly can provide that. And so here, like I said, this picture is just an idea of what we'll get, what you can have, and you can see the steam coming up. So when Ryan was talking about that fire and ice concept, here's a good enhanced picture of that.
Yeah, that's right. And we're talking about social distancing, when it is safe and when it's appropriate for travel to commence again. When you come to Iceland, we know that people are going to be more focused on getting away from the crowds. So if you're wanting a unique experience and with that distancing in mind, then we'll plan the itinerary around that. And that means finding maybe more off the beaten path hot pools or off the path hikes instead of the Blue Lagoon or the more popular Golden Circle area. We usually like to do both, but obviously these are slightly different times, and we love to explore new areas that people haven't been before. So a mix is good. One or the other is also good.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to stop the presentation here just real quick. I do have a couple of some other questions. We talked very lightly about accommodation. And so most of my followers like the boutique concept, again, something very different. Are there igloo properties or ice properties that they could visit during the time with you? Or is that something that you would probably say not exactly?
Yeah, well, so the funny thing is that if you remember, I mentioned Iceland is actually a lot warmer than most people think. So in the winter, you probably could build an igloo, but it would only last for a few days and then collapse.
Right.
So what we focus on when we pick hotels is, as you said, boutique. So we might pick a 4-star hotel, but it'll be a 4-star hotel that's also a horse farm, or we'll pick a 3-star guest house that will be in the middle of nowhere where they have lambs running around in a perfect place for you to see the northern lights. So although there is luxury and there's budget, we tend to only pick the places that we really love to go to that have a unique style, and often that involves some of the wildlife, a lot of the farm and rural life, and potentially the type of food that they have as well. These are the kind of things we love to share.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's and again, that's the curation that I like to create for all of my clients. So everybody knows when they come to me that I will listen to all of your experiences, requests, and obviously put you in a situation that you're going to be looking at me like, what did she put me in here for? No, I work with Ryan because he's my eyes and ears on the ground. So he's the one who's vetting a lot of the stuff that I haven't seen. But we work together, and him and his team are really going to be my local contacts. So if we need something to make sure that your stay is absolutely perfect, we're in full coordination. So that should help you as well to understand how all of these moving pieces work. Iceland is amazing, as you can see. I really do recommend that everybody kind of, if you're interested in having this experience, again, it's only going to be available for a few more years in terms of being able to walk on a glacier or something like that because of the melting. And so it would be great to have that as a memory that you were able to create. And we can create it within your budget. So, let's have that conversation. Let's kind of, put that into play. It should be the ideas of planning that should start now so that we don't do over tourism and really get you social distancing to keep you safe. So with that, is there anything else that you'd like to add, Ryan?
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it. I mean, what we do, one of the things that I'm well aware of is that this may well be the first trip that people will get to go on after a very big pause in travel. So it's even more important, it's always important, it's even more important to get it right first time.
Yeah.
So with your very, very detailed itinerary building and planning and attention to detail, like I'm really a big fan of the way that you do things, and working with people on the ground like us, knowing the hotel owners and having the experienced guides. We don't hire people to run a random trip. They are the local experts. They're glaciologists, volcanologists, geologists. You will have basically an amazing experience. And if you check TripAdvisor reviews as well, then these are the kind of things that people say, you're getting the best guides, you're getting the greatest itineraries, and you're seeing the most popular stuff, but you're also seeing off the beaten path itineraries as well. So yeah, when the time is right for you guys to
a great science class, because you get all of those things all combined. Great for homeschooling.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and helping us. I know it's late where you are, so again, much appreciated. Everyone here, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, you know how to find me. And of course, I'm here to help you, curate that trip and make it super amazing. So thank you again, Ryan. Namaste. Until the next time.
Thank you very much. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye bye.